Oh, so I think realistically, first things first, we've got to talk about Victoria Alonso because this is one of many. This is new information that's coming out. It's fascinating. It's interesting. It's now essentially been confirmed that she was fired for all intents and purposes. At least here it is that she was fired, came down from on high. Alan Bergman. Are we familiar with this story, guys? Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because this is a lot of the same stuff I think I was saying the other day, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. So, just to get to the real meat of it all, it comes down here. 8 days later, she was fired. So that's the confirmation she was fired. Essentially, it's not confirmation; it's from sources at Variety, right? So 3 individuals familiar with the matter told Variety that she was fired. The shakeup came as a surprise to many in show business and within the vast Marvel comic book fandom. Apparently, I don't think anyone in the comic book fandom people surprised by this. I don't think they were. Who the fuck cares in the Marvel comic book fandom? They didn't give a shit who's in charge. Anyway, Alonso's dismissal has raised numerous questions about the behind-the-scenes workings at the prized content engine with them. And with them, another unfavorable news cycle as Disney CEO Bob Iger attempts to stabilize its parent company amid economic unrest. This is the thing we've been saying for a while. This is such bad PR. It's truly bad PR, genuinely. It just looks bad. So while the cause of Alonso's termination is unclear, the sources said the decision was made by a consortium, including human resources, Disney's legal department, and multiple executives, including Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Bergman and Alonso's longtime boss and Marvel chief creative officer Kevin Feige felt mired in an impossible situation and ultimately did not intervene. One source added, Alonso was blindsided, another insider added. Now, I'd go so far as to say that if human resources are involved, legal department, there's something going on behind the scenes there, which ain't looking too good. I don't know if anyone else has any sort of speculation, any information on that. But human resources being involved, the legal department could simply just be because they're firing her. But it's a bit sus. Tom?
Well, there has been a lot of complaints about her behavior. I've been comparing it to like Ellen and whatnot, to where now that she's no longer there, a lot of people are not afraid to speak their mind. And so maybe there has been a lot of complaints to HR. I mean, again, if there's a lot of wokies, they will turn on their own, that they won't hesitate. So
I think widely being known as being a kingmaker when it comes to visual effects houses and things like that. I think that probably wasn't received well either in an industry that's starting to not work with Disney anymore. You have major houses that are turning down opportunities to work for them, and the entirety of the company, not just the MCU. So
Yeah. So sources familiar with Marvel pointed to the tremendous pressure that the unit has been under over the past few years to deliver compelling content, not just to theaters, but also in the form of new streaming shows intended to bolster Disney Plus. So they're sort of pieing that off over there as part of the issue. The breakneck distribution schedule, a product of the pandemic and the need to constantly feed Disney Plus, was not of Alonso's making. Marvel was far from the only studio tasked with delivering feature-level content. Blah, 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 blah. But they say it was Alonso's job to get each of those titles through Marvel's gargantuan post-production process. And by summer 2022, cracks began to show, which is where all these... This is what we were saying already on the stream, was that the VFX have been shit for a while. Just go back and watch some of the movies. Hulkbuster, Endgame, terrible. But you never had complaints from the VFX artists. You never had the outspoken nature of the VFX artists. So that's the not good part. That's where you go, oh, what's going on here then? And so we've heard all of this stuff already about the Kingmaker being blacklisted, but there's new information. So one visual effects artist recently told Variety that the biggest issue for them was Marvel's inability to provide clear guidelines. The show I was on really struggled because it was an established character whose powers they were reconceiving for the MCU.
It's Marvel.
Yeah.
Do you think? Is that what?
I'm almost guaranteed.
They did change it all, didn't they? Actually,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah. And then Marvel doesn't figure shit out beforehand.
Yes.
Well, we know that because they
That's
do
glaring
right up to the last minute.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Now, there was this statement from a senior VFX artist, but this is not them actually speaking specifically with Marvel. All they say is the idea of a very senior executive, terrifying rank and file artist person reports feels a bit off. It doesn't to me.
No.
That doesn't feel off at all to me.
No, especially the type of position and the type of ilk she was. You just expected it. She's always had to present herself in an overly masculine way. So oftentimes in order to have people perceive you as such, you have to act just ridiculous and abuse your underlings, et cetera, et cetera. Believe me, I've been in corporate situations where that's occurred. Yeah. So you look around and it's unsurprising. I mean, Tom brought up the best example of that, Ellen. I mean, Ellen was revealed to be what she was, and she's not the only one. And oftentimes, when you reflect back on people that are in positions of power, you'll find that they all have these same kind of character flaws,
Yeah. Well, it sort of comes with the territory in some regard.
Yeah.
Now I found this part very interesting because this is the first time a trade has actually acknowledged this. Still, the drumbeat that something is rotten in the state of Marvel Studios only grew louder with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a film that finished shooting over a year before it was due in theaters and still weathered repeated criticism for generic visual effects that looked like CGI glop and were very flat and cruddy looking. Even more critical, the movie has grossed $463 million globally to date, the worst performance of the Ant-Man franchise, and a figure that means it will struggle to break even.
That's being kind.
It's not going to break even. But this is the first time a major trade is acknowledging this, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's pretty bloody big.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying the other day. Is they're getting to the point where they can't even deny, because Ant-Man and Wasp is going to lose them anywhere from $100 to $200 million. Right.
It's over 100 million. It's not, but I think you're right, Tom. It's somewhere in that ballpark, but they haven't even crossed $500 million globally. And go back just a few weeks ago, go back into February, towards the end of February, right? When the film opened and they were like, well, this film's going to eke out, 500+ million globally. No, it's not. I mean, we were calling that early on. I think you even mentioned it, Nate, very much after it released. It was struggling.
Yeah, honestly, the first weekend I was like, this is a bomb. It's not. It won't break even. I said it straight from the off. I was like, this is a bomb because they're front loaded. Anyone with 2 brain cells that follows this space could have predicted that it was going to bomb massively because they're front loaded. They always taper off. You only had to see what was coming out subsequently. It was fucked.
Yeah.
It was, excuse my language, for lack of a better word, but it was absolutely fucked from day one. From its opening weekend. If it didn't hit the numbers that it needed to hit, day first weekend, it was never going to hit them. It was never going to do it. And people always go because people are like, oh, yeah, you think everything's a bomb. I'm like, yeah, but 9 times out of 10, I am right.
Well,
right here.
It comes down to what was more should be referred to as like effective box office, right? Because when we look at these films, there's a lot of FOMO there and a lot of desire not to be spoiled. And I'm having a big bomber fly over my head right now, so I apologize. But the idea of not getting spoiled for a film is usually drives that front end for the box office. So seeing these massive fall offs are predictable. When we see these films, by the way, nobody's gonna freak out and not go see John Wick 4 because they get some spoilers because they want to see the spectacle for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They're there to watch the action.
Yeah,
they're there to watch a throwback action film.
Whereas with the MCU, Star Wars, things like that, the outcome is the thing you don't want spoiled. Right. And so if you find out all the little things, they're spoiled for you on the front end, that's when you suffer and you don't really feel inspired to see the product any longer. So that's why you see a 68%, a 70% fall off from the box office. And then they're predictable like clockwork. And I'm sure you know this and many other people in our sphere, because we all kind of talk about it.
Yep.
Right now with MCU, they do about 2.5 times legs. That's what they do. 2.5 to 2.8 legs. They don't have Top Gun legs. They don't have any of that. The box office has to be front loaded because they don't have any length to sit on. That's it.
Yeah.
They can go for 12 weeks and never reach, an apex similar to any other film that doesn't have that FOMO quality, that doesn't have that fear of being spoiled. And that's it. So they're very predictable, and that's why it's like a Swiss watch. So when you saw, and I know this is true, Nate, when you saw that this film was doing what it did on its opening weekend, you knew automatically this thing was toast. I think we all did.
Yeah. We spoke about it, reported on it. Yeah, it was But so Victoria Alonso done. This is the first domino falling of Disney. What do we think? Obviously, we kind of covered this already. This is more that she was fired. This is the thing that she was fired. I mean, Nick, you've stayed pretty quiet here. Speak up.
Well,
Nick.
Well, the thing that has me interested is what's going to happen to a lot of these projects that she was part of, because you got Echo, Ironheart, Agatha, Covenant of Chaos, the X-Men 97 show. In these projects, and it just came out today, X-Men 97 is now delayed. It was supposed to drop this year. And from what I understand, all the episodes and all that's pretty much done. But now, all of a sudden, after she gets fired, now it's delayed. Why is it delayed? It was reported that it was.
She's an executive producer on them. So if they fired her, they're going to have to work out some form of severance package.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if they're going to change any of these projects or cancel them altogether, or I don't know what's going to happen with a lot of these. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is probably going to start getting delayed now or outright canceled, and I'll be curious to see kind of what the fallout backlash is for a lot of the content that they were going to be having coming out.
That I agree. With Tom, do you have anything to add to that specifically?
Yeah, no, I think Nick is right. I mean, we've already heard from Bob Iger that they're going to be cutting back on a lot of projects, and I would imagine that this is kind of the beginning of that, and a lot of the stuff that she was probably behind or championing might be getting the X. Now, we've been saying this for the last few days. Just because she's gone doesn't mean the woke is going away, because we got to remember.
Oh, yeah.
All the same people that were involved are still there before. And I still am not convinced that the main and big main... that's one thing that this article overlooks, really, is that Reedy Creek deal. I think that is one of the main reasons why she's gone, is because she was one of the big proponents of that. And when it was all said and done, it wasn't only, 2-3 weeks ago when that came down. Between that and just the Marvel stuff alone, I mean, that's enough. But the Reedy Creek incident where she was out there, and I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but, she's talking about how, she sat Bob Chapek down for 45 minutes and all that business, and we don't get to choose our family, and Disney should be concentrated on all this and that and the other. So clearly she's one of the people where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And if she's going to talk like that in public, I can't imagine what she's like in private. I mean, I joked about, me trying to sit Andre down for a 45-minute talk and seeing how well that would go. Yeah, I don't get this entitlement out of these people. I mean, I get it. She's been in the industry for a while. I'm not saying she doesn't have some pull or power, but it sounds like she pulled too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that whole, her sort of wading into that and dragging Disney, Bob Chapek through, a political mire that he didn't need to get involved in. FYI, he didn't need to anyway. He could have just told her to fuck off, which is what he should have done. But they need a scapegoat somewhere, and she will be one of them.
No.
So, fun.
Yeah.
I sat Bob Chapek down. Come on now, behave.
For 45 minutes, no less.
Can you imagine his big, bold egghead and the veins thumping through it as he's listened to this stupid woman.
Well, we
talk
saw
about
his video.
cars.
He looked like a scolded child.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such a. God, I wish he had some. That guy should have had some balls. He really should have done. For goodness sake. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.